What's up, guys and girls? Brock Ashby here. I am an online personal trainer, body transformation coach based in Sydney, Australia. I'm also, if you care, a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but no one really cares until you're a black belt. So I don't even know why I brought that up. But today, I'm going to be talking about the dumbbell chest press versus the barbell bench press. Which one is better? We're going to find that out real soon. So to start off with this video, we're going to think of 6 things to think about when we're considering these two exercises, because if you are a little bit intelligent, you understand that there's not just good and bad, everything has trade-offs. So the first thing that we need to consider is range of motion. So if we look at the dumbbell chest press first, we have more range of motion that we can achieve simply because we don't have a barbell that's getting in the way of hitting our chest first. So with the dumbbells, because we have freedom with our hands, they can come all the way down. And you'll notice if you've done a dumbbell chest press that you can get more stretch at the chest, at the bottom, because you can get more range of motion. If you have a barbell and you're coming down, it'll get stuck on your chest around here. But if you have dumbbells, you can pull it all the way back, especially if you get your shoulder blades back and down as well. So with range of motion, it's going to be greater with the dumbbells than it is with the barbell. Now, with the barbell, you can do things to maximize your range of motion, like minimize the arch in your back. So that means if your arch is really big and you stick your chest out like a lot of powerlifters do, that actually reduces the range of motion, which is intelligent if you're doing a powerlifting competition, because less range of motion means that you need to move that shit ton of weight that you're about to lift less distance. So that's why powerlifters do that. But if you want to minimize that arch in the back, that actually increases your range of motion. So if you are doing barbell bench press, there is like a powerlifting style and there is a hypertrophy bodybuilding style if you want to play around with that. The second thing is stability. So with the dumbbell chest press, it has less stability than a barbell bench press, simply because your hands are not bound together by a barbell. So with the dumbbells, obviously, if one kind of falls that way, that arm's going to go this way and this is going to stay. So you have to use more stabilization muscles with the dumbbells. That means if we're using a barbell, we have increased stability, and that is why we can lift more weight when we're doing barbell bench press. So if you're looking at stability, it's going to be more stable using a barbell bench press, which leads on to my third point. That increases your ability to lift weight, which is why you're stronger doing the barbell bench press than you are doing the dumbbell chest press. That's why when they're doing a powerlifting competition to lift as much weight as possible with the barbell bench press, they do it with a barbell bench press because they can literally exert more force because they have more stability. Number 4 is freedom of movement. Like I've kind of said a few times before, with dumbbells, they move around a bit more. So sometimes when you're doing a barbell, it's fixed. So your hands have to stay at the same width. But what I like to do when I do a dumbbell chest press is actually come all the way down. But when I press up, I like to bring my hands together so that I have this kind of up and in movement, because the chest works in a flying motion as well, which is why we have chest flies, cable chest flies and all that stuff. But it also works in pressing movements like the barbell bench press, push-ups, chest press machines as well. So when I go up and in, I feel like I get a better contraction from my chest when I do that. But with the barbell bench press, I cannot do that. So that freedom of movement, I think, is a bit of a tick on the side of the dumbbell chest press. Number 5, safety when taken to failure. When you're doing the barbell bench press, if you go to failure and you don't have anyone around you, it could be good night. You're going to get stuck with a bunch of weight on your chest, and it's real awkward to get out of unless someone's there to save you. No one would save me if I was here training at the body quarters, because I'm training on my own a lot of the time. So I probably wouldn't be here today if I was going to take the barbell bench press all the way to failure. A trick around that is to not put the clips on or the collars on the side when you're doing bench press if you're training to failure on your own. If you can't lift up the weight, you just lean to one side, the weight falls off that side, you lean to the other side, the weight comes off, and then you can just lift the 20 kg barbell and get up. But we don't want to be doing that. When we're using the dumbbell chest press, we can train way safer when we go to failure, because if we fail on the dumbbell chest press, we can literally just drop the weights there and we're not going to die. With the barbell bench press, it is a bit different. So you do have to consider that. So it is easier to take the chest to complete muscular failure when you're doing dumbbells than it is when doing a barbell bench press, unless you have a spotter. The last point is hand position. With dumbbells, you can play around with a pronated grip, a 45-degree grip, and a neutral grip. However, when you're using a barbell, you can only do the pronated grip. I have seen some people bench with a supinated grip. It just doesn't seem very intelligent to me, to be honest. So with that hand position, that can actually pose as a variable that you can use in your training when you're looking at workout programming. Let's say you're training at home, it's pandemic days, and all you have is a pair of dumbbells. If you're training your chest and you don't have much variation, with the chest press, you can do a neutral grip for 4 weeks. Then you can do a 45-degree grip chest press for 4 weeks, and then you can do a pronated grip for 4 weeks. That way you have 3 ways that are pretty much kind of like different exercises, yet all you've done is change the grip. So that could be a way to bring variation into your training program if you have limited equipment. Now, I want to talk about common mistakes when people do these exercises as well. And then at the end, we'll conclude which one is best and which one isn't. The first common mistake is not going deep enough. So when we're looking at hypertrophy of a muscle, there's been a ton of research stating that the stretched position is where we build the most muscle. That is at the bottom. So if you're not going all the way to the bottom and you're not going deep enough, like all the bros are in the gym and they're just kind of like pumping at the top, going half the way down, halfway up, you don't want to go too low, bro. It's bad for your shoulders. That's absolute bullshit. You can go all the way to the bottom, and that is where most of the hypertrophy is occurring, because that's where the muscle, the chest that we're trying to hit with these exercises, is getting stretched the most. It is getting stretched more in the dumbbells, like we alluded to before. But if we're not getting down there, we're not going to be maximizing the amount of chest that we can build with each rep. The second thing that a lot of people do, that is a huge mistake, is bouncing off the chest. And once again, this is your ego getting in the way. The same reason that people don't go all the way down is the same reason people bounce the weight off their chest, because it's hard at the bottom. That's the hardest part. But if you do a little bit of thinking and you understand some of the research, this is where we build the most muscle. So bouncing off the chest is just as bad as not going deep enough, because you're not milking the hardest part of the exercise. Number 3, not setting the shoulder blades back and down. That's a big mistake a lot of people do. So when we set our shoulder blades back, which is known as scapular retraction, and down, scapular depression, we are opening up our chest to do all of the pressing. I've dealt with a lot of clients that come to me that just can't develop their chest. So I like to call it a Superman chest. Superman chest is a real big, proud chest. And when we naturally do that, our shoulder blades come back and down like that. So the cue that I like to use in Team Brock Ashby is the Superman chest. If you're not doing that, when you press, your chest isn't being used the most, and your shoulders, your anterior deltoid, are going to come in and help. If your chest isn't going to help, your deltoid is going to come in and lift the weight. So set those shoulder blades back and down. And when you do chest exercises, you're going to get gains in your chest. Because if you just go, oh, look, I'm doing all these chest exercises, push-ups, bench press, chest press machine, flies, but your shoulders are doing all the work, you're going to have, first of all, terrible posture, but you're also, secondly, going to have overdeveloped anterior deltoids, which is going to lead to your shoulders growing and not your chest, even though you're doing chest exercises. Number 4, not utilizing correct breathing. So when you get to a point where you're lifting heavier weights, you want to take a breath, do the rep, and then breathe out. The whole breathing in on the way down and breathing out on the way up works to a certain degree, but when you get to a point where you're lifting a decent amount of weight and you're an advanced lifter or even an intermediate lifter, you need to really hold on to that breath, because if you hold your breath or you take it in your breath and then you breathe out at the bottom when you need to be your strongest, where the hardest point of the exercise is, you're blowing out all that stiffness in the abdomen, all that tightness that you have to lift the weight. You're like, whew, it's kind of like a balloon deflating when it needs to be at its best. So take that breath, do the rep, and then when you're like 3/4 of the way up, you breathe out. That is how you breathe correctly when you're doing chest exercises. And the 5th mistake that people are not doing is utilizing leg drive. So utilizing your leg drive is a very important factor to when you're bench pressing. And when you first utilize your legs when you are bench pressing, it makes a massive difference. It's night and day. when you're doing bench press. I feel like I'm so much stronger when I'm utilizing my leg drive. And that means putting my feet into the ground, corkscrewing my feet, and squeezing my glutes. So then I have my 2 feet into the ground, and then I have my glutes squeezed. So I have this tripod of stability. And like I talked about in a previous video that I actually just recorded, if you're more stable, you're able to produce more force and lift more weight. So if you have the stability of your 2 feet into the ground, your glutes squeezed really hard together, you have this kind of prong, like this 3 prongs of stability. Your feet, and your glutes. They're squeezed. So everything's looked after with your lower body, and then all you have to worry about is doing your bench. If your feet are just flopping around below you and your glutes are just sagging around on the bench and you're not really utilizing that strong stability that you could have, you're not going to lift as much weight as possible. So those are some mistakes that I want you not to make. Now let's kind of rate what is best and what isn't. The answer is they're both awesome. It's about utilizing different lifts at different times. So the incline dumbbell chest press or the dumbbell chest press is a great exercise. It gets more range of motion. It requires more stabilization muscles. So it's great. If that doesn't mean that it's shit because you can't lift as much weight as a barbell bench press, it just has different application. You can get a deeper stretch. So potentially, if you're going for hypertrophy and building as much muscle as possible, the dumbbell chest press is going to be better than a barbell bench press. But with the barbell bench press, you can lift more weight. So in terms of getting stronger, applying progressive overload in your chest lifts, that's going to help you to do that. So they both help each other out. One helps to build muscle a bit better because of the range of motion, but the second one helps you lift more weight and get stronger. So it's not about like, oh man, I don't bench because I want to be as jacked as possible. I only do dumbbells. That's a stupid way to think. It's not barbells versus dumbbells. It's not machines versus free weights. It's not this versus that. It's about how can we use all the tools that we have available to us to get the best physique possible or to achieve the goal that we want to achieve. And if that's getting stronger, then it's using the barbell probably more than the dumbbells. If that's building as much muscle as possible, you're probably going to use dumbbells a little bit more than you're going to use bench press. That doesn't mean you have to, but they're just different tools in the box that you can use. So hopefully this helps open your eyes to being more open-minded when you are lifting weights and not just being like, oh, I only do this, I only do that, because that is not a very intelligent way to approach your training. If you did want help with training, I do coach people, as I said at the start of this video, all over the world, Africa, Asia, I was going to say Australasia, Australia, New Zealand, anywhere in the world that you are, as long as you have Wi-Fi, you can download the app and get started with me. So check me out, teamrockashby.com, the link's in the description. Otherwise, YouTube will show you a video here on my channel that you may like. I'll see you in the next video.